Hello everyone, this is Mary Ann and welcome to my channel. Sorry about the mess. This is another video update that I have for you guys for One Book July 2016. We are already finishing up week 2. I started doing my challenge on the first day of July, and I have an introductory video about it, and I also will link the update that I filmed for week 1, and now we're already on week 2. And I just wanted to show you guys how I am doing so far. So my One Book July project, I'm on version 2 by the way. It's one book, one project for 1 month, and my project is a journaling project because I no longer have the time or the energy to journal a lot, not like what I used to do when I was a full-time student and I was a part-time freelancer. Now I'm a full-time government employee and a full-time student, so I didn't really have that much energy or time left to journal, but I do find a lot of benefit in it, and I discuss those benefits in my previous videos. But for week 2, I have to say that I'm doing okay. And just to show you, here are the pages that I have written for all of July, except for this one. This is just a cover sheet so that you won't get a glimpse into the very personal journal entries that I have written. But this is really it. And I counted, and it's 81 pages. So if you divide that by 2, uh, that's like 40 leaves of this. 40 leaves of this has 2 pages, page 1 and page 2. So I've written 81 pages worth of journal entries on the Tomo River paper, cream 5mm ruled from Reme da Vinci. This is DR276. So I'm doing okay. Within the first week, I have been able to journal about the little worries and got them out of the way. And this week, I was able to journal about the bigger worries, the ones that after I've done away with the little worries and they no longer bother me, I was now able to delve into the bigger worries, but not yet the biggest worry. And I have been successful at journaling every single day of July so far, except for there was one day that I missed writing. Except for July 11, I missed writing into my journal then, but I kind of worried again. Of course, I had a little anxiety attack again regarding that, but I journaled that away. I explained to myself that yes, you had a goal, but things cannot be completely perfect, and sometimes really you just forget, but you just have to learn your lesson, and then you have to tweak your system a little bit so that it will help you remember to do this, because this is important, especially for July, because it's book July. It is a challenge, um, not to make it difficult, but in order for us to benefit from the discipline of doing it. So that's really the concept of any challenge. It's not to make your life more difficult, but it it aims to give you some kind of discipline or some kind of routine within that period so that you will benefit from it. And of course, a challenge is something that we choose to join personally. It's a personal decision for our own personal reasons, and we do it on our own personal time because we see the benefit of doing the challenge, and not because anybody has imposed it on us. And I have always believed that anything worth doing is worth doing well. And goals are important, and they should be adhered to, and we all must make a point to achieve our goals, because if we don't, what's the point in setting goals, things like that. So I was all this talk only because I missed a day of journaling for week 2, so I kind of journaled that worry away, and I was able to journal about the much bigger worries, but not the biggest worries. And that amounted to about 81 pages of personal sized paper. This is Tomo River paper, and as you can see, there is no bleed through, which is really just so perfect. So that's that, and I have been observing this pen's performance. This pen is a Jinhao Dragon 999, and I also showed this on my previous videos for One Book July. And let me just show you, this pen does not have a label on the nib. Let me zoom that in. It does not have any label on the nib, and it just says Jinhao 18K something. This is too small, I can't read it. But the nib doesn't have a marking on what point it is, so I don't know if it's a medium or a fine or a broad, but it is definitely closer to a medium. It is not broad, because most broad nibs are, they have the tip of the nib looks physically wider in broad nibs, but this is definitely not a fine nib. The way it writes is it is very wet. This is diamine eau de Nil, and it is very wet. The pen writes very wetly, and as you can see, there is shading on the downstrokes of the pen where the ink pools on certain lines and strokes of the pen, and that's really pretty much how it looks throughout my entire journal for One Book July 2016. So because of the way that this pen writes, I have counted the number of pages that it was able to write, number of personal sized pages that it was able to write before it needed a refill. So first I refilled this pen completely, and then I just kept writing with it, nothing but journal entries. And then at the end of the 11th page, there was no more ink left. I mean, the ink was very light, so it signified that there is actually nothing anymore in the converter, but that was just leftover ink on the maybe the feed here or somewhere along here inside the pen. So it needed a refill after 11 personal sized pages. In my previous video, I think in my introductory video, I showed you the ink that I am using, and I showed you the ink bottle for that is a diamine eau de Nil. But I also have an ink vial. This is from Goulet Pens. This is from their ink drop, and the only reason that I know about the existence of the diamine eau de Nil was because it was part of an ink drop before. Now, the Goulet ink drop, if you're not familiar with it, it's a program that you can join for. It's like a subscription box that are very popular nowadays, except that in 2012, the Goulet Pens ink drop, you can subscribe to it for about $10 a month, and then they send you 5 sample bottles of fountain pen inks. It has a theme every month, but it's not revealed until they already have sent out all the subscriptions for the month. So I got this on one of those drops, and as you can see, it still has the label on there, but I have finished the entire content of the original shipment, and I like the ink so much, so I ordered it, and I have put some of it here. And this container is watertight and airtight, so it doesn't spill, and it doesn't evaporate. And I've been using this ink vial actually for eau de Nil since 2012, and it has never really evaporated or spilled on me. So let me show you now how to refill a fountain pen that has a converter in it. First, you unscrew the cap and put it aside, and then you unscrew the barrel from the feed right here, so you can reveal the converter. As you can see, it is completely empty, but the piston is, fully extended. I just emptied the ink out so I can show you guys how to refill a completely empty fountain pen. So the the position of the piston inside the converter should be against this edge right here, because that's the position of the piston when you're using the pen. Now, when the pen is completely empty, that's when you bring the piston down by twisting this part of the converter. And then the great thing about this vial from Goulet pens is that most feeds can fit right into that part. And then you just twist the converter the other way. Let me bring that up so you can see. Just twist it the other way slowly and carefully so that you can ensure that there will be the least number of air bubbles in this refill. Let it stay on a little while, and then you can bring out the nib part, or the feed, or the section. Now I'm all confused about the fountain pen parts. And then you just close this up so that it won't spill even if it topples over, and then get a tissue and then wipe it off. It's a little messy, but I've gotten used to this because I've been using the fountain pens for so many years. And there you have a fountain pen that's completely full, and you just put the entire thing back together, and then you can start writing with it already. Let me just bring back my handy dandy planner and write down 1 book July 2016. We are now on week 2. By the way, I am on version 2. Oh, yeah. Is that how you write it? I'm not even sure. So I really like this pen. I really like the design, but it's really, really heavy. And I've had comments on my earlier video about this, that a lot of people have appreciated this pen, and I'm glad. And Romany even got hers already, but there is a lighter version of this pen. That's what Romany got. And it also has the dragon, the same dragon motif, but perhaps just lighter or thinner or smaller. I haven't seen it yet, but this is what I have. It's called the Dragon 999 there. So that's a little bit of update about how this fountain pen works. Now we are already moving into week 3 of July. And what are my goals for week 3? For week 3, my goal is to journal about the most urgent and biggest worries that have been on my mind for a while now. And there are 2 of them. There are actually 3, but I can focus on the first 2 for week 3. And they have been on my mind for a while. And I actually have been able to write down half a page or a page in my journal in the previous months about it, but those were not enough. Those are worries and issues and anxieties that need to, need more of my time and more of my brain power to sort through, because it's kind of a muddle. And so that will be my goal for week 3. And I will do that. I will journal about those, not in my usual spot here in my office after office hours at night, and not in my desk at home. I plan to do that somewhere else that is not my usual place, but which I like and which I find comfort in, and which I can feel a certain degree of safety in, like a restaurant that I really like, that I have been going to for 15 years and everybody there knows me. Or I can maybe drop by the school library one of these weekends, because they're open on weekends when even when there are no classes, they are open on weekends for the dormers that need to do some research in between semesters, things like that. I'll see. Or I can also, you know, go to a museum. There is this small museum that I really like. It's in Intramuros. And there are benches there. There are no desks there, but there are hard benches that I can sit in. I'm not really sure how comfortable that would be though. But I can also go to a small restaurant right across from that museum, and that is a restaurant that I hardly ever go to, but which I really, really like. And every time I go there, on the rare occasions that I go there, I feel happy because I like the interior. It's a very, very old house, like 200 years old, but it was converted into a restaurant. And the museum that I like, that I mentioned a while ago, it's really one of the oldest museums here, right beside one of the oldest churches here. And Intramuros is really the old walled city when the Philippines was still a Spanish colony, and that was where the seat of power was. So I really like going to that place. Maybe I can make a trip to there one of these days, one of these weekends, because the museum is open on weekends, and really sit down. I think doing that would help to ease the anxiety that I am definitely going to be facing when I am journaling about those big urgent worries. Being in a happy place or in a place that we like will help to make the process a little bit easier and a little bit happier. So that is the goal for week 3. And of course, after week 3, I'll be back to update you guys as to how that went. And I might even show you some, pictures and cameras are not allowed to be turned on inside that museum, but maybe I can show you footages of the restaurant or of the exterior of the church and the museum, just so you can see what things have been part of my week 3 for One Book July. I think that's a good thing to aim for week 3. Well, now I'm actually excited about week 3, and I'm no longer scared about journaling about those 2 big, urgent, major worries. So, well, I guess that's it for this update. I'll be back again for an update at the end of week 3. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Bye!